best job I ever had. Hey, I'm Mr. Wright. Today I'm talking about Fury. Fury is a World War II movie starring Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. I was expecting this movie to be very dumb and lots of explosions and just kind of be dull and just an excuse to go see more explosions. However, Michael Bay's touch is nowhere to be found in this movie, as every single explosion and every single fight scene feel very, very well done and very captivating, and I was at the edge of my seat pretty much throughout the entire movie. Brad Pitt, yet again, is awesome in a World War II movie. Last time we saw Brad Pitt in World War II was in Inglourious Basterds, and that is a great movie, and he's very fun in this one as well. While not quite Aldo Rain as last time, he is still very fun. The characters in this movie were very nicely together. It felt very brotherhoody. They all are together, and they have to get along because they're in this very cramped tank. So it's either get along or get out. And that's exactly what they do, is they all become sort of brothers. I really, really liked it, and all of the characters have a very clear arc. They start out as one thing and they end up as another, and it's all very well done. You can watch this movie a couple times and find every single arc and character and find how each person kind of grows up as they go. See, having a smaller plot is important if you want bigger characters. I find that there's two kinds of stories. There's stories that focus on plot, and there's stories that focus on character, and when you try to do both, it doesn't quite work out. So the plot is almost non-existent here. The plot is about soldiers in a tank being soldiers in a tank. But the characters are awesome. Brad Pitt's character is the leader. Then you have Shia LaBeouf's character, who is super religious and quiet, which is interesting. I thought Shia LaBeouf wasn't famous anymore. John Bernthal's character, who you may know as Shane from The Walking Dead. If you watch The Walking Dead, you know exactly who this character is that he was playing, because it is the same character. He is just as much of a douchebag as he was on Walking Dead, and I remember now why I hated him so much. You have Logan Lerman's character, who we last saw in Percy Jackson, and this is the first time that I have really enjoyed him. The Percy Jackson movies are a complete mess, but this time I think he has the even greatest arc in character storytelling, because he goes from a typist who has not ever been in fights before to being in one of the most intense final scenes in a tank I've ever seen in a movie. And Michael Pena, who plays Gordo, and he's the Spanish one, and they give him lots of trouble because they can't understand what he's saying half the time. The characters are just so much fun. The movie was shot very beautifully. That yet again just rings home how scary wartime would really be, and being in a fight is. This movie easily can go up with Saving Private Ryan, in my opinion, as just as intense and just as thought-provoking and just as stomach-churning as other great war movies. So all these guys are working in a tank. The tank is named Fury. A lot like other great movies, the thing that is so great about Fury, the tank itself is sort of a character. It becomes a home for all of these characters, and a lot of the best scenes are in this tank. After each fight, you go from intense, fights to very thought-provoking scenes afterwards, where they are thinking about all the horrible things they have to do and how much it hurts. This movie really shows the dark side of war. Even when following just the Americans, there are times when, in some war movies, when showing Americans were always 100% the good guys and the Nazis are always 100% the bad guys. But this time, it doesn't feel quite as black and white. There are very clear signs that we are also doing horrible things, and war is not pretty. War is not good versus evil. There isn't a lot of blood or gore in this movie. However, the few times that there are, it is very tastefully well done. There's this scene where Logan Lerman joins the team, and he has to go into the tank and clean off his seat, because the last guy that had that seat died, and his body is still in the tank. So Logan Lerman goes into the tank, and he has to clean off all the blood from the seat, including half of the guy's face that is still sitting in the seat. Brad Pitt becomes kind of a mentor to Logan Lerman, and mentors him from being a scared typist to being a soldier. You can tell, Brad Pitt feels connection to this kid, because a lot of the times they show Brad Pitt commanding the troops and then hiding behind a building for a second, or behind a car or a tank, and catching his breath like he's having a panic attack. Everyone in this movie has their own bright and dark side, and everyone is very well-rounded, and they're all real people. And to see such a confident and proud and strong leader still suffering with anxiety and probably some PTSD is very inspiring. It has very good pacing, because it starts small scale and ends with one of the biggest tank fights I've ever seen in a movie, and it is so tense. They're in a tank, and the treads break, and they have to fight off this oncoming swarm of like 300 Nazis. And the treads are broken, so they can't move. They have to stay right where they are. The sound effects while in the tank and the first-person visuals from inside the tank are also very well done, and probably gives me the best idea of what being in a tank would really be like. As a lot of movies show tanks, but not kind of how intense it would be on the inside, this one, every bullet, every shrapnel, every explosion hits the tank, and you can hear it. And the theater surround sound made it so real. All of their guns have tracer bullets, I believe is what they're called. And so every 5 rounds they shoot off one tracer so they can see where they're shooting. And the American forces have red tracers, and the Nazis have green tracers. And I'm sure that is similar to how it is in real life. However, I don't remember that being in many movies. So what it looks like to a movie watcher is it looks like they're shooting lasers at each other. Now, I fully know that's not what it is, and I fully know it's probably how it works in real life. But in a movie, it just looks like they're shooting laser guns at each other, and that did become kind of distracting at the end when there was so much gunfire going on. There's one scene in the middle of the movie that does tend to drag on a little bit. After saving a town, they go in to eat with this family, and it goes on a bit too long, and it does slow the pacing down just a bit. This movie is very well done, and I do recommend it if you like war movies that are well done, not just there to give you an excuse for explosions and fights. I have to give it a thumbs up. I'm Mr. Wright. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.
We never run before, why are we gonna run now? We're still in this fight!